Haven't posted in a while because, quite frankly, there hasn't been anything worth posting to show you guys until now. This is the DREO Humidifier. You may have seen my CVS review of their humidifier. I had two of the CVS humidifiers. One eventually gave out, and so it was time to get a new one. And went through the traditional rabbit hole, just seeing what's new in the market. Having experienced the other humidifiers, I knew what I was looking for. And so there are a bunch of reviews already, or not reviews, but demos of the DREO. So I'll spare you that, but I'm going to go through the details in terms of how this is different from other humidifiers, why I think it's a great deal, and my experience. I'll also address the whole leaking issue, which is like probably the #1 complaint on Amazon. So to start with, this is a little refresher. You may know about humidifiers, you may not. If you're new to it, I'll just get into it really quick. But the biggest and most important thing in terms of a humidifier, there are probably about three things. The first is the capacity. That just doesn't tell you how much it's going to humidify the room, but it tells you how often you're going to have to refill it, which could be a pain for some, depending upon how big it is or how small it is in terms of capacity. The second thing is how easy it is to fill, and because not all humidifiers fill the same way. Some are top down, which as this one is. Some you have to take off, like the CVS, you have to take off the whole thing and fill it from the bottom. In which case you have to bring the whole unit to the sink or to the pitcher, or bring the pitcher vice versa, heavy pitcher. One way or other, it's a pain. And then third are the either added features like an auto stop. In this case, they have a light. But the biggest thing after the capacity and the way you fill it is how easy it is to clean. Because if you're not familiar with humidifiers, they need cleaning on a regular basis. Sometimes daily, sometimes every 2 to 3 days. In the case of the DREO, it happens to be every few days. It's more so than my CVS humidifier, but it's not a breaking point, just because it is so easy to clean. So we'll get into that in a second. But the DREO costs $36, which is really, really inexpensive compared to other humidifiers of this size. There's I think 2 other models. One has like a gauge here that tells you the humidity. I don't need that because I have these. I have humidity gauges throughout my house. I have some of the best. They're inexpensive, but they're some of the best and most accurate on the market. You can find those reviews on this channel. But the reason I ended up getting this was primarily because of how easy it is to fill. The other thing is how well this disperses the humidity, that vapor. And I'll show you that in a second. I have a video footage of that. In fact, I'll cut to that right now. This is on the low setting. Medium. And high. And then after that, you can see why it reduces. This is about it's about a couple, 2 or 3 inches wide, I think. And so this is a very wide hole or displacement. It's not a hole, but area for the humidity to disperse. Some others are maybe half as wide, maybe even a third as wide. This piece comes out, which makes cleaning very easy. You can actually see this needs a little cleaning here. You see this pink? I'm glad I actually have it on there. That's what you're looking for. That's mold. It's pink mold. Everyone's used to black mold. That's pink, and that's what you'll see throughout your humidifier in different parts. But that's what needs to be needed. But they make it very easy to clean this. We'll get to everything all at once. But basically, you can also, this is really, so the idea of the top fill is you can literally just take this off, now let's get into water real quick. You can use cartridges to decalcify your water. If you don't decalcify your water or use filtered water, I use a 0 water filter to keep refilling it, or you could use, you don't want to start paying for water that you purchase from the supermarket, distilled water. That gets very expensive. But anyway, if you don't decalcify or use decalcified water, eventually calcium builds up inside the machine inside the motor or that area, you're going to get white stuff coming out, like it looks like literally like powder. But in addition, it's going to start clogging things up, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. And you have to use vinegar to decalcify it. Then you're dealing with smells. So it's just not worth it. You're best off starting with water to begin with. Anyway, so to fill, you can literally just take off this top, and then it's a really big area where you can just pour in water, as opposed to even some that have tops that come off. They only give you like a very small little area to pour your water into. And the worst kind, relative to the top loaders or the top fillers, are the kind where you have to take it off, turn this upside down, and then fill it from here. While I have this upside down, you can see some of the parts that you can clean, and then some of these parts do come off like this for easy cleaning. And that was one of the, so just access to this inside area was huge for me, because I know from experience that those areas, do need cleaning to get the mold on them. Where am I? That pops in like that. So that's the top loading. It comes with a little pipette to clean inside there, which is helpful. That in there is just a filter, which you don't have to worry about. Then you get to the actual machine. Now, to be clear, by the way, this holds 4 liters, which is quite a lot. They advertise it'll last for 32 hours on the low setting, and I think that's about accurate. In terms of whether you use the first setting, second, or third, the output, that just depends upon how quickly you want to humidify your room and how big it is. Now, nobody can tell you how well this is going to humidify your room, because that depends on 2 conditions. The first is the size of the room, and the second is the level of humidity in your room. So it is important to have some sort of gauge in terms of measuring the humidity, but nobody can actually say, oh, this will do a 700 square foot room or a 1,000 square foot room, or how quickly it can get your humidity up and regulate it, because there's too many factors. But in general, I mean, I'm using this in about a 700 square foot area, maybe a little bit less. It's doing a great job, and it keeps it very steady. And just depending upon the other factor that's going to determine the humidity in that room, whatever room you're trying to humidify, is how much airflow you have. So let's say you have a leaky door or leaky windows, and it's in the middle of the winter. That cold air has very low humidity. If you have a lot of airflow coming into your house, you're going to have lower humidity overall, and you're going to need to run this thing more often. And that's part of my problem, why this is always on. That's why I wanted a much bigger capacity than I had before. Anyway, moving on. So we know you got to clean that. This becomes very easy to clean as well, but this is the inside, and I liked how this is removable. Everything's removable, access to everything, very easy to clean. That's just because you'll notice, and especially for this one, and I have pictures of it, for some reason, the DREO, I never had this with CVS. It gets like this brown gunk, and I'll show you that. I have no idea what causes that, or what why that is with that brown. I guess it's mold. I never experienced it. I've had the pink, never had this brown stuff, but it's easy enough to clean. Very little gets on here. You can wipe it down. You can take this to the sink. Just never get water inside here. That is super important. You can get a little bit of water here, and just take a paper towel and you start cleaning in here. That's it. It's very easy. The light makes it an awesome feature, or is an awesome feature, I should say. It's just cool. It doesn't do anything, but it is cool. It looks cool. That's it. Nothing more to say about that. The timer, you can set this. If you do this for nighttime, it will lower it, and it takes off all the light. You have your 3 settings, and that's it. And it does have an auto shut off. I recommend if your machine shuts off automatically, make sure you take off the lid, this lid, and let it breathe. Ideally, you would take this off too, because for whatever reason on that standby mode, it speeds up or intensifies the amount of mold that it produces. Anyway, again, for $36, this is a no-brainer. And to address the leaking, so I was very hesitant. I took a shot, and I've had zero problems with leakage. Now, one feature I didn't mention are the cartridges that you could put. You're supposed to be able to put oils in here, and I do not. Based on my experience with humidifiers, dehumidifiers, and steam machines, I stay away from the oil. Why? Because oil can damage seals, and there are seals in there, which we can't see, but you have rubber seals that could break. Eventually, it will damage the plastic. I just stay away from it. I've had no issues. Now, I don't know if that's why people are having issues. I imagine that's not the only reason. If you set it up correctly, if you place it correctly, you shouldn't have any issues. Maybe they had some line that they were producing that they fixed. I don't know, but the company does address it, and they said if you have any leaking, you can reach out to them. But I've had zero leaking, and I was very weary of it. But I took a shot because of the price and because of the features it had. Very happy it worked out for me. And just so you know, this angles, which is actually nice because, and this will actually, there's on their full blast, they claim it goes up to 40 inches, I think. In that video, you can see how high it does go, which is helpful because if your output is too low, and you have this on a table, let's say, you'll end up just the humidity or the vapor that's coming out, I should say, is just going to end up falling onto the surface, and it just becomes wet, right? Because this is usually warmer. This is cold air that's coming out of here, quite cold actually, and because there are warm air and there are cold air humidifiers, this is cold air. When it reaches to touch the surface, it becomes wet. And so that's also what people could be thinking is leaking, by the way. I just thought of that. But in any case, the fact that this is a very strong output, that was brilliant because the higher it goes, but the less chance it is that it's going to touch a surface and become liquid water again. So it has more chance to disperse into the air and regulate the humidity. Anyway, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you found this at all helpful, please do give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, subscribe down below. Thank you for joining me.